Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. If you'd like to be seated. This is our regular scheduled meeting for February 11th. And at this time, I'd like you to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Zachary Harper, who is with us tonight, will lead us in it. And then 10 seconds of moments of silence. Here we go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please standing for one of our longtime residents, Mr. Clem, who died a few weeks ago. Thank you. You may be seated. First, I'd like to call the report of the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department, and at this time, we will have the January crime analysis report.
Hello. As far as January, it was relatively quiet. There was not much. It shows 5 thefts. One of the thefts, there's a $2 stolen off of as a tip for the bar at Craggy Bills. That person was caught. That's what I thought. And then there was a ring stolen from somebody's house. They thought it was a worker, so they didn't want any kind of prosecution for that. There was no burglaries, no stolen vehicles. There was 9 arrests, mostly for misdemeanors. There was one felony arrest for aggravated assault, or aggravated battery, I'm sorry. They knew each other. Somebody hit the other person with a hammer. Nothing serious, but they knew each other, so it's nothing random. And that person was arrested as well. There was 4 crashes. It looks like all the crashes were in parking lots, and nothing serious, no injuries. And a total of 367 citations and warnings combined were issued in the city for January. And that's basically all I have.
Do any of the commissioners have any questions for the sheriff? I have one question for you. An officer stopped a resident on a golf cart in a residential street and said it was not street. The golf cart was not street legal. However, the resident was riding his golf cart on a municipal road going to the ballpark. And they were told that they were not allowed to do that. And I am under the impression that as long as you are not on Golf Boulevard, that a golf cart is allowed. Is there something in the ordinance that we can clarify that one way or the other?
Best thing to do is let me clarify with Captain Lyon.
Okay.
And that way we just went through every 6 months, the sheriff rotates deputies.
Okay.
We just went through a shift change a week or 2 ago, 2 or 3 weeks maybe. I'll address it with him.
Okay. And the officer was very, very nice. But was under the impression that you were not allowed to ride on a municipal road or side streets anywhere around in the town, in the neighborhoods.
We'll address that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next, 1B, we're going to have the report of the Pinellas Sun Coast Fire and Rescue by Commissioner David Ardman, who is our Indian Rocks Beach Commissioner for the Fire Department.
Good evening, everybody. My report's here. Sorry. So, I had mentioned last month that Chief Burton would be here this evening to give you an update on short-term vacation rentals. The chief met with City Manager Mims, and I know you're all tracking what's going on in Tallahassee. So it didn't seem like this was a good time for the chief to come in. He was happy to, but not much to report. Like I mentioned, he did meet with the city manager to discuss that and code implications. And we as a district are working with the state fire marshal's office to get a better understanding of the code implications, when 1- and 2-family dwellings are used as short-term rentals. Give you a department status. All frontline positions are filled, and a lot of this information comes from the chief. We're deferring some replacements of vehicles because of funding issues. We have an internal committee working actively on replacement of one apparatus from a needs assessment approach. And we are completing some technology upgrades that previously had been deferred. Financial status, our current reserves are at 22.9%. Longer range plans, we have completed the first step in a more detailed station location study for all 3 of our stations in cooperation with Pinellas County. Preliminary data suggests that we look at moving the IRB station a little bit further north. The mainland station moved that a little bit northwest, and the Indian Shore station also to move to the north. So we're working on that. We're developing a 5- and 10-year master plan and looking for support from our constituent cities and towns. Water rescue. We're awaiting approval from Pinellas County Water and Navigation and a letter from the Army Corps to get a permit to place the boat at the lift just below the Holiday Inn. All the IRB permits are approved, so thank you for that. Call data for last month. You may know we have a goal of 7.5 minutes response time, at least 90% of the time. We look into those situations where we don't make our target response, and we look for reasons and remedies. Excuse me. In January, we had 36 EMS calls, 2 for motor vehicle crashes, 5 for falls, 5 for difficulty breathing, 3 for injury-relation events, 6 for chest pain or cardiac-related, and 2 water rescues. We had 10 others, person down, sick, allergic reaction, etc., etc. Average response time last month was 3 minutes 45 seconds for EMS, and we missed the target once for a call that was downgraded to a non-emergency, and twice for calls which were first due to the unit being tied up in another call. Fire-related calls, 6 fire alarms, 2 structural fires, 2 elevator rescues, 1 citizen assist. Average response time for those was 4 minutes 16 seconds. And then lastly, the chief says it's never too early to start planning for hurricanes. So he says, build a plan and go to ready.gov. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Agenda item number 2, public comments. Any member of the audience may come forward, give his or her name and address, and state any comment or concern that he or she may have regarding any matter over which the commission has control, excluding agenda items. All statements made to the city commission shall be made to the city commission as a whole, not directed to an individual city commission member, and no personal or slanderous remarks shall be permitted. No speaker shall be interrupted, and no debate shall take place between the speaker and the city commission. John, if you'd like to come up and take a vote now. Yes, sir.
Thanks, we got a drawing there. Good evening, I'm Mick Knight at 475 Harbor Drive South. There's a construction going on next door at 473, and I can kind of describe the situation. There's a pool in the back towards the water. The pool is about as high as your table here. So there's a pool. This fence over here is my property line. There's a slope of sand that comes from the top of the edge of the pool down to the fence. And it's been like that. I moved there in '95, and it's been fine. It seems like it's worked okay. The house recently sold. They're doing some remodeling. And they've been bringing in fill dirt towards the bay. The bay is right here, the seawall. They put some wood props up and brought in sand and filling it in. It's like the picture there, I don't know if that helps. My side, the fence, the neighbor, we replaced the plastic part as a privacy fence. It's kind of cheap, but it works. But the sand up against the fence has been pushing the fence in, and it's bowing out, and it won't be long before the fence will break. They keep adding more sand, and I've been talking with the code enforcement to try to figure out what to do, and nobody can figure out the situation over on my side of the property. The owner is next door, and he's got the line. He has a formal drain system on his side that has some concrete blocks and gravel inside, and it looks very well engineered. I mean, I'm not an engineer, and I just have a little common sense that every time I say something about putting the sand away from the fence, he adds more, and he's trying to create a swale, a valley, so that the water will drain. The drainage is not the problem. The problem is the sand up against the fence. So, and I don't know how to solve it, and talk to Hattie a little bit, the engineer, and Mr. Mims, and trying to figure out what to do with this. I just want to present this as something to be considered, or figure out what we need to do on this so that there's not more sand put up against the fence to tear the fence down. So this part of the fence out here that's towards the water is wooden. It's been there before I moved in. It's cypress wood. It will last a long time. But with the sand up against the cypress wood, the sand will be moist, and that will destroy it. It will rot the wood. But if you let the cypress dry out, cypress will last a long time. The other part of the fence is plastic, and again, that's where the sand is being pushed up against the fence. So I'd just like to present that and see if what can be done. And I think maybe Hattie and Mr. Mims, are y'all working on that? They said they're going to try to get something figured out.
And he said his address is 475 Harbor Drive South, just for the record.
Yes, I'm at 475, the house in question is 473, and the owner is 471, I guess, over there. So they're working together. I've talked to the owner a number of times, and I've talked to their fellow Jack. Jack is also the construction guy over there, and the more I talk to them, the more they kind of, everybody agrees, and then they disappear, and then I come back and there's 2 more inches of sand put down in there. So it's been going on since November, so I'm patient, trying to figure out the way to address this problem. So,
Thank you, Mr.
okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Hi again,
Hi.
John Owens at 111 16th Avenue. Again, concerning the pickleball noise in Cole Park. Myself and the woman that was with me last meeting, Jennifer Woods, we went door to door, and we've got, I hesitate to call it a petition, it's a request. The 14 names on it don't make it much of a petition. The way I want to look at it is it's 100% of all the houses, all the residents on the north side and on the west side, requesting that the city do more than it has done. We do appreciate the attempt with the sound barriers on the west and the north side. My conversations with people, and Jennifer told me the same thing with her conversations, they thought it made perhaps a tiny difference, or some people thought it made not at all any difference. So the options are limited. I think either adding the material all the way around to see if that would do. Much cheaper, I think, would be a padlock, and hours on the court from at least 9. We're requesting 9 in the morning till 7 at night. The reason being that the noise level at 7:30 in the morning is, to me, as the closest house, is as intolerable as ever. And now they're playing much, much later, 9:45 last night. It's just too much, and there's too much irony here where, and I understand the Mr. Mims' comment in the paper that you can't restrict it to Indian Rocks Beach residents, but it's still hugely ironic to me that the tax money we pay towards that court construction brings in people from other jurisdictions so they can annoy the people who pay taxes. I just find that too ironic. Anyway, I won't take up any more of your time. I urge the city to look at the request. I don't know, do I give it to Mr. Mims?
Yes.
And consider it and act upon it. Thanks very much.
Thank you, John. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak at this time? Please come forward. Hi, Don.
Don House, 214 Beach Trail. I pulled a packet for running for mayor this year. I didn't follow through. My dad was in bad health. He's been in hospice. He happened to die this morning. And so I should be anywhere else but here, but this is pretty important, so I came tonight, all right? When you read the charter, and I try to read it, maybe I'm missing something, but Article 2, Section 2.2b says, to be on the city commission, you have to be a resident of the city. It also says in Section 2.2d, 2a, when you don't qualify, you forfeit the office. This is nothing against Nick, but I don't think he's a resident of the city. According to the Pinellas County Property Appraiser's Office, he and his wife filed for homestead on 12/31/19. It was granted on January 2nd, 2020. I don't think he's qualified to be a member of the city commission. I don't think that any business that's been done in January or tonight is legal. I think that the city commission knows that he's not a resident of the city, and as such, y'all have neglected y'all's oath of office to enforce our city code. I think that any business that the city commission might try to continue should be suspended and until this is ironed out. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak at this time?
Good evening, John Fansfield, 448 Drive South. It's coming up later on, but I thought I'd like to say I congratulate the Homeowners Association on 50 years of great service to the community. And I don't know if Randy, on a separate subject, I don't know if Randy's covering it, but one of the residents let me know that there's another troubling issue in Florida. And that is they're talking about making all the crossings that have lights red lights. So instead of you just stopping for 7 seconds as somebody walks through and you can continue, you would have to stop for a neighborhood of 30 seconds or a minute. Everybody, both sides, and that would be, you're talking about adding more crosswalks, it would be intolerable driving down Indian Rocks Beach at certain times of the day. It's nice to know Whit from Forwards Pinellas is against this. So there is some people against it. It's probably good intentions, but it just doesn't make any sense. The yellow lights work just fine, keeping traffic flowing as well as they could and providing safety. And last thing, it's a different subject again. We know that the short-term rental people are going to keep coming back year after year unless they win this year, and they very well may win at least some of the things they want to accomplish this year. We also know that the Airbnb lobby has a lot of money. They're still sitting on over $1 million. You know, Airbnb is going public, or trying to go public soon, so they have a lot of reason to try to get this stuff passed in Florida. And I wish that our government officials would do more. We had some wonderful people going up and speaking to the legislature today. But you need more. You need to put money up. Florida League of Cities and Big CNO need to have a legislative fund to fight this, or we're going to lose, and it's a horrible thing for the people of our city. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak at this time? Hi, Phil.
Hi, Phil Roble, 112 13th Avenue. I live way over on 13th, third house from Gulf Boulevard. And on a quiet morning at about 7:30, 8 o'clock, when I'm on my back deck, I can hear the pickleball. So, just an FYI.
Thank you, Phil. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak at this time? Please come forward. If not, we will close the public hearing, and I will ask for the report of the city attorney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As I'm wearing two hats, it occurs to me I didn't do this earlier. If we could please just quickly call roll for purposes of the record. Commissioner Hoofnagel? Here. Vice Mayor Palumbo? Here. Commissioner Flagg,
Here.
Commissioner Hannah. Here. Mayor Kennedy.
Here.
Okay, all members being present. Thank you. With that, legislative session is always interesting. Last week, I sent you a memorandum updating you up till session to that point. That memorandum should be updated tomorrow. Of course, we are tracking the number of preemption issues, whether it's having to do with food trucks, short-term rentals, things that may not be Bert Harris, may not be preemption, but neuter municipal powers and duties like the Bert Harris amendment. As it relates to the Bert Harris Act, which I summarized at some length for each of you in a separate email, that is, the House version is presently on the floor. It got through all 3 of its committees. The Senate version doesn't perfectly align yet, but my colleague and peer quoted in the paper saying this would be a nuclear bomb for municipal zoning. I don't think it's an exaggeration, at least in the form it was in at that time. As it relates to short-term rentals, the House bill has got through 2 of its 3 committees. On the 4th, it was passed committee by an 8-5 vote, so it has 1 committee left. The Senate bill has also gotten out of 2 of its 2 committees. It still has to go through its 3rd, being the Rules Committee. They have not formally been placed on, they are on those committee agendas, but not on a date and time yet. So they are, they need to be moved on with the calendar. Last year around this time, we saw it happen that it advanced in the House, but then was never ultimately placed on the Senate calendar. So that's where that process is. Other than that, I had the great fortune this past week of joining Leadership Florida in Tallahassee. We learned about a number of issues from medical marijuana to driverless vehicles. I had the fortune of meeting with Senator Brandis at one point, and I asked him, he explained his general political philosophy on individual rights. I did pose the question about how that squares with individual communities banding together and expressing those rights in the form of local ordinances. Not surprisingly, the response was, some things are just more appropriate for preemption than others. That's sort of the general thinking up there, how those delineations are made are largely philosophical. With that, I have nothing further to report except to say that I continue to work with city staff on a number of issues, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Does anyone?
Is there any merit to what we heard from one of the residents about one of the city commissioners? Is there any merit to the legal arguments?
To the extent an issue is raised about the qualifications for office for a city commissioner, the clerk of the city is the supervisor of elections. There is a lot of autonomy and discretion afforded the clerk in that decision and the city generally. As it relates to those kinds of issues, it's not a simple analysis of any one thing. Will they change their driver's license? Will they change? You're looking for the manifest intent as to residency, and where that manifest intent lies is a number of factors. As I understand it to this point, the commissioner has spent time in both communities, continues to spend time, keep property or belongings, certainly has property within the city where they keep tangible personal property, have frequented it. Further to the point, even entertaining the analysis if it were indicative that it was, if that had been dispositive of the issue, and I'm not saying that it was, but had it been dispositive of the issue, that would not per se invalidate every action of the body. It would come down to what were the votes. For instance, in the case of a unanimous vote, if one person was voting erroneously or without validity, you would have to count the vote as if that person did not vote. I don't believe in the last month and a half we've taken any actions that have come down in a way that would be a necessary analysis, but I'm going from the top of my head. And again, that's assuming a series of conditionals that has not been implemented.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions for the city attorney? If not, the city manager.
In honor of the IRB homeowners, I have no report.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll start with commissioners then. Commissioner Hoffnagel, do you have any reports for tonight?
Well, the quarterly financial report was on the agenda.
Yeah.
Is that going to get pushed out? Or?
No, yeah, you got any questions about the quarterly report?
Anyone have any questions about the report? Okay. Ed, anything else?
Yes, I do. On Saturday the 15th, the Art Center is hosting a gala party, 1920s theme. Would encourage you to come and show your support for our community Art Center. It's a wonderful asset here at the beach, and it's going to be a rip-roaring good time as well. Won't be quite as noisy as the pickleball games, but we might raise the roof a little bit. Just a personal note, Mr. Clemmer used to come here a lot and sometimes make our life challenging. And one day he just knocked on my door, and I was a little bit taken aback, and so I opened the door, and he had a whole big box of milkweed, and he said, I know your wife, Julie, really likes butterflies, and I thought she might want to have some of these plants because it's native food for the butterflies. And I just thought that was one of the nicest things, and that's kind of like Indian Rocks Beach in a nutshell, you know? We're all living here together. We get along even though we may not always agree about everything, and I just wanted to put that in the record that even some of the nicest things happen from people you may not expect it all the time. And that is the end of mine.
That's very nice. Commissioner Flagg?
I think I would like to say that the Greentown kids had a recycle program here during the month, and it was done very well. It was the city and Pinellas County, and a lot attended. I know it was the second meeting, but things are constantly changing. So I hope that in the future, perhaps they can come back. We can have them back for another program in 6 months or so to see what updates they have regarding recycling.
Thank you, Diane. Commissioner Urbana?
I will pass this evening, the same reason that Greg mentioned.
Okay. Vice Mayor Palumbo?
Yeah, this is my last meeting. I just wanted to say thank you very much to everybody for your support and partnership and everything, except for one person, clearly, but everybody else, really for the dedication that it takes and time and effort that people put into this city. So I know it's a special place. We have a special place in our heart for Indian Rocks Beach and always will. But thank you everybody for your partnership and friendship. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Nick.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Just going to go over a few things that are coming up. We have A2K on Saturday, Valentine's Day. It is going to have a 9 to 11 A2K service at the county park. We have, I'm looking at March, so
Yeah.
that's the wrong one. Okay.
There is a cleanup on the 22nd.
Is it on 22nd?
Yeah.
Okay. You already heard about the event this weekend, and next first Monday of the month is Monday with the mayor from 4 to 6:30, and we always look forward to having all of you there. Just want to mention about Robert Clemmer, who only missed, I think, one time Monday with the mayor with me. We had a lot of great conversations, and he's been a long-time resident, and I enjoyed him, and I will leave it at that. We had a really good rapport. I'd like to, from this, we will go into our additions and deletions. Do we have any tonight? No deletion, okay. And then 5A is the consent agenda. Randy, would you like to read that for us?
Yes, Madam Mayor, there are 3 items on the consent agenda tonight. Item A is approval of the regular City Commission meeting minutes for January 14th, 2020. Item B is a proclamation concerning the 50th anniversary of the Homeowners Association. And item C is a proclamation concerning autism awareness. These are the only items on the consent agenda.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Randy, would you take the roll?
Happily, Madam Mayor, Commissioner Hoofnagel having motioned and Flagg seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion
Consent
carries.
agenda stands approved.
At this time, the President of Homeowners, Joan Call, if you'd like to come forward, and also all of your group can come forward up to the front if you'd like. I always think it's important to recognize our citizens who volunteer and do great works for our community. And this is the 50th anniversary of the homeowners. So we wrote a proclamation, and I'd like to read it to you. And it says, whereas the Indian Rocks Beach Homeowners Association, founded in 1970 to provide residents information, create community interest, and provide opportunities to participate in community affairs and events. And whereas the Indian Rocks Beach Homeowners Association strives to provide a vehicle to promote, publicize, and support the mission and activities of the City of Indian Rocks Beach and the various community organizations which advance the common good of the Indian Rocks Beach community. And whereas a central goal of the Indian Rocks Beach Homeowners Association is to unite the city's residents in support of the preservation, beautification, and enjoyment of our small beach community. And whereas the Indian Rocks Beach Homeowners Association partners with the city to hold major fundraisers which support the community and the city as a whole. And whereas the Indian Rocks Beach Homeowners Association is dedicated to providing opportunities for residents and local businesses to meet and become better acquainted in a friendly and informal manner through social events and fundraising throughout the year. Now, therefore, I, Joanne Boston Kennedy, Mayor Commissioner of the City of Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim Thursday, February 13, 2020 as IRB Homeowners Association Day in Indian Rocks Beach and call upon all citizens to join the city in recognizing the Homeowners Association and the 50th anniversary. Phil, you're not going to come up here. You were one of the originals.
You were here in 1950. Come on, Phil.
Come on, John.
Maybe you could squeeze in like the Yankees over there, Phil. Thank you. Lovely.
You don't have a wide angle?
I need one.
There we go, I got it. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Glad it wasn't more
So you heard that we're doing 2 proclamations, but the autism one is really for April. And this is Zachary Hargett, who's going to be our representative, and he gets a little freaked out with clapping because he's autistic, but he's very high level. And if you've seen him on a parade with me, sometimes this is who rides with me in parades. He's my favorite, right, Zach? I had him come today because I knew that we were going to have it as a proclamation, but it will actually be April. And there are very few cities that do this, so I'm always amazed at that. So this is what the proclamation, I'm not going to read it tonight, but if you come back in April, you'll get to see it. But it was Zachary's birthday, and I wanted to talk just for a few seconds about his family. I wanted you to meet Scotty, his father. Scotty, I went to the city of Pinellas County, and he works for the fleet with the county, and there's a video, and it's on my video on my Facebook, and it says, I am Pinellas County, and Scotty was voted the person of the month with the county, and he did a beautiful job. So if you're not on my Facebook, you need to go to Pinellas County so you can see it. But I went today, and all the county commissioners, and they talked all about what a great employee he has been for the county. And I think it's important for us to represent and meet people in our community that we may not know, like his wife. Come up here. This is Michelle, who I met them, I told everybody that I met them, the first time I ever met them was when we were doing a beach cleanup on the 4th of July. And they had never done anything like that, and they brought their 2 kids, Trevor and Zach. Where'd he go? Is he?
He's back in the
Okay. He's in a seat. And they had never done anything like that, and I thought it was important, and so I called the reporter over and I asked the reporter to interview. They wanted some people to interview, and I said, you know, I don't know these people, and they're in our community, but they came out today so that they could help all of us clean up litter, give out bags, and when we have one of our residents who works for another organization that's a part of our communities, I think it's important that all of you get to know each other and that we single you out too, so that you get to see how awesome they are. And the fact that we have Zachary, who's going to be our representative in April for Autism Awareness Month, I wanted you to recognize him too. And so when you see him on the street and their family, I hope that you guys will say hi and that you will do it, okay? And Zach, I brought you, you said you were hungry, come on. The puzzle is part of the autism logo. So when you want your, nobody's gonna clap, okay? You wanna take these home? I'll have your brother take it home for you, okay? But anyway, if you see him, he's got all his autism stuff on. He's an excellent student, and he goes to Nona, right? And you're gonna come, and this is your birthday, and you're gonna be how old, 8? It's gonna be 8 on the 24th, right? So you're gonna come back in April when I read the proclamation, and we're gonna tell everybody, no clapping, okay? Okay, we love you, all right? And thanks for coming and being a part of our commission meeting tonight.
He has gifts for you all.
You have gifts for us? Wow. You have gifts for the commissioners? Sometimes hard. All right.
This is a basic, Madam Mayor. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
So hopefully you'll all come back on in April, so then we have the really true autism awareness proclamation. With that, we will go to public hearings. We do not have any tonight. Is there any other legislative matters? 7A. And any work session? I don't have any work session items. Other business to come before this commission? If we don't have any, then I guess is there a motion for adjournment? Is there a second? Second. All in favor? All right. Thank you for coming.